It really is pretty much indescribable. And we'll talk Mizzou in the second segment, but Cam wanted to make sure he left the baseball for us. So Brooke, Jim, Charlie here we go. It is to a point now where it's hard to describe what you're seeing. And you look at the standings, and it's still pretty crazy to see now, after this 16-game franchise record winning streak, the Cardinals are 18 games over 500, Jim. 18 games. Now, even a couple months ago, when the Cardinals were around 500, I certainly thought, look, it felt like one of those years where the Cardinals were going to be in it till the final series, and maybe they get eliminated that final series or the final game, whatever it is. And then even when they got hot for a while, let's say a couple weeks ago, you're thinking, okay, so maybe this goes to game 162 where you're going to need Waino for that game. Maybe it goes to game 163. Okay, you're not going to be able to line up your pitching staff. And here we are now, Cardinals with an off day, but final week of the season, the Cardinals have a 6-game lead in the wild card. When you look at that, 18 games over, 6-game lead in the wild card, it's pretty crazy the way the standings have absolutely flipped in the last 2.5 weeks.
Well, I mean, even in September, like, what was it? Fangraphs came out and said that they had a less than a 3% chance of even making it to the playoffs. And now, fast forward to literally the hottest team in baseball right now. I mean, even like you said, Charlie, I don't know if it's just being pessimistic or we're just not used to seeing something like this. But even, just here recently, it's like, is this really happening? Is this the same team that we've been watching all season? All of a sudden, everybody's clicking at the exact same time, and there's really no rhyme or reason for it. It's just all working out somehow.
Something happens weird every game. And they get down 2-0. You're going, it doesn't matter. Watch, stick around. Something's going to happen here. Watch this. Cardinals are down 2-1 yesterday, and it's getting later and later, and don't worry about it. We're okay. And then Bader just crushes one. It's tied at 2. Wait till you see what happens in the last 2 innings. Just watch. And then that goofy play we saw at the end of the game yesterday. Now, there's got everybody for sure had in the back of their mind, really, they're going to lose the streak on a botched up infield flyer? I mean, that was on my mind. Like, wow, that's a heck of a way to lose a streak.
If you look at karma, it would have been 9 years later. But I was there for infield fly in Atlanta, which I think that
Has it
ball...
been 9 years
was
for
it
that?
250 feet? I know somebody measured it. That ball was in the outfield, clearly. I mean, that was the craziest call ever.
Yeah.
So it would have been baseball karma if the Cardinals would have lost this amazing win streak on a crazy play like that. But also, the resiliency of this team, it's weird. It's a mindset, but it's true. I now feel... Okay, you can go back. You don't have to go back very far. Go back to that Brewers series. Some of the Reyes, Gio Gallegos, Daniel Vogelbach. That was not that long ago. I felt worse. If you go 3 weeks ago, I felt worse if the Cardinals had a 5-1 lead entering the 8th inning than I do now if the Cardinals are down 3-1 in the 6th. Because I feel like they're going to come back and win, and they have for 2.5 straight weeks. When they were not doing this, the bullpen was on fumes, but also you would go into the 8th and 9th, it'd be 4-1, it'd be 5-1, it was 6-1 one of those games, and you were waiting for them to lose, and it was happening. Now you're watching these games, and you just know they're going to find a way to win.
Well, you know what changed? Giovanni Gallegos.
It does help when you know you got a guy that can get people out.
He's been lights out. I mean, and, you feel for Alex Reyes, and obviously he's still going to help the bullpen out. But still, I mean, Giovanni Gallegos, even when that situation happened, that crazy call where you're like, okay, this could end their streak, I really wasn't even that nervous because I was like, well, Gio's going to go out and close us out. No problem. What is there to worry about?
Right, and that's where the stabilization of the 9th has been huge. You did have that for the first half of the season. Remember, Alex Reyes was an all-star, and he hit a point where it just wasn't working anymore, especially in the 9th inning, okay? Whether it's because of too much usage, too many walks. For a while there, you had no confidence in your bullpen, and then Gio Gallegos takes over the 9th, and you just feel good about your closer, but it's not even just him. I mean, the TJ McFarlands of the world, Luis Garcia, I mean, Genesis Cabrera and Alex Reyes and Gio have been there all season long. But Luis Garcia, TJ McFarland, some of the young guys, Cody Whitley now. I mean, Jake Woodford. That's another part of the whole situation we don't talk about. When the Cardinals made the moves to get John Lester and get Jay Happ, and to be fair, we probably should have mentioned this more. A part of that was also Jake Woodford and Johan Oviedo. They were not giving you winnable starts. They weren't even able to go 5 innings without throwing about 100 pitches. Okay, and you were just having to use your bullpen nonstop. And so you allow those guys like a Jake Woodford to go to the minor leagues and figure it out a bit. And now Jake Woodford comes back, and he's been really good as a starter.
Yeah, so much more confident, too. And you know, look, I was definitely one of those people, too. When I saw that the moves they made, getting Lester, Happ, you know, even Jake Woodford not even really panning out, Johan Oviedo, I was just like, well, this team is done. You know, whatever. They lost exactly Flaherty. Right. You know, it's like, okay, it's not going to pan out how we wanted it. Fine, whatever. You're going to go get some old guys, really? But now it's just like it's proving that the veteran leadership works, and then everybody is just really feeding off of each other right now, that confidence. Jake Woodford looks like a whole different person now that he's come back from the minors.
And the other part of this, I find this funny, because look, we were all wrong. We were all wrong. I'll be the first one to say. And Jim, I have to say, though, I always thought the Cardinals were going to finish about 5 games over.
You did tell me that. And
even when they were,
said, oh, no way.
Right, even when they were around 500, you knew this team was going to make a run. They were going to make it interesting. Did I ever foresee 16 straight? Heck no.
I mean, who would, though?
Did I ever foresee this team?
Half a month without losing a game.
This team may finish 20 games over at this point. I would think they would. And you're talking about the model franchise in the National League. One of them up there. They've been playing baseball for over 100 years. And that's what's so crazy. This team, not 2004, not some of the crazy teams. I mean, go back, 2016 or 2015, they won 100 games. But it's the 2021 team that we all complained about for 5 straight months. It's the 2021 Cardinals that we all wrote off that set the franchise record winning streak of 16 games and counting, by the way. And this is for a franchise that's played baseball for how many years? 130, 40 years, whatever the number is.
Well, and it's even like guys are able to pick up where one has left off. Because even when Sosa got hurt the other day, I was like, oh, great. Like, here we go. This is where some dominoes are going to fall. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's trauma.
We're all waiting for it. You're right.
I know, yeah. I was just like, I saw Sosa got hurt, and I'm like, great. Here we go. We're going to bring in Paul DeJong. He's not going to, he's going to be kind of bleh. And then just picked up. It's like all of a sudden, it's like the Paul DeJong we've been waiting for. And it's just, none of this makes any sense at all.
That's why it's funny. And I pay too much attention to Twitter. I'll be the first one to say that. But I've seen some folks say, oh, let's go to Old Takes Exposed. Listen, Old Takes Exposed. By the way, you've gotten me in the past, too. It's fine. I have fun with it. However, if your Old Takes Exposed this year, you're going to have to find 7,000 people that all said the same thing. And that's why it's even one of those years where I don't even think the Cardinals are like, yeah, we told you. Did they see this coming? Did the front office see it coming?
No.
Did the players see it coming? It's just fantastic to watch. Just enjoy the ride.
There is no one listening that can tell you, oh, I saw this coming, because no one saw the San Diego Padres just going in the tank. No one did. It was, boy, the Padres, once they get that pitching straightened out, they're going to run at the Dodgers. They're going to run at San Francisco. It's going to be those 3. That's it. Everybody else is just playing to play out the string. Then the Cardinals do what they're doing, which is unlike anything we've ever seen before. Come on.
I can't wait. I hope we hear from John Mozeliak soon, just so that
he's
can be
quiet, so he needs to come out.
I think he's being quiet. I just see him, just sitting there at Busch Stadium this week, just giggling to himself, because he's like, yes, you all doubted me and wanted me out, and now here. And even, who knows, maybe he did think this was going to happen, or maybe not to this extent, but still, it's just like a very much like his seat was very hot. People wanted him possibly gone, Schultz possibly gone. And now it's like, no, you don't want them gone. He made amazing decisions that are somehow panning out.
And I've never been the one that said, fire John Mozeliak. I understand if people don't like big picture what's happened the last 3-4 years. You also have to put things in perspective. Remember, and over the weekend, Saturday, The Blues just locked up Doug Armstrong for 5 years, as they should. He's probably, a top 5 GM in all of hockey, maybe better than that. And my point is more so.
Among them, yes.
Okay, so it's top 5, top 3, top 8, whatever it is. He's really, really good at his job. And I think sometimes we just forget that there are 30 or 32 teams, whatever league you're talking about, and they're all trying to win. And even at the low points, the basement of the John Mozeliak era, there's never been a losing season. I think you have to put that in perspective. I remember the Rams. I remember Billy Devaney, right? That was a GM that needed to go.
Boy, do I remember.
And look, is John Mozeliak perfect? No. Is Doug Armstrong perfect? But also, who are you going to replace them with? These are, I think, both of those guys. This is not me being a homer. I've said this for a while. I think they're both really good at their job. And I think St. Louis sports fans, even though you can critique them, look, you can, John Mozeliak and, Mike Leake, you can bring up Dexter Fowler, the Matt Carpenter extension. Has he been perfect? No. But 14 years? No losing seasons as well. But it's also fair to say, even though this team has been unbelievable the last 2.5 weeks, they still have put themselves in a spot because of how they played, especially in the month of June, where all of this magic will come down to 9 innings. So it's important to mention that because of the hole they dug themselves in June. Okay, they don't have a chance at the division. And who knows, maybe if you make one of these moves 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month earlier, could they be playing for a division title here in this final week of the season? I mean, I think that's also a fair point to make.
100% accurate.
But I'm not being negative.
No, you're not being negative, but it's a reality. I mean, come on. There are still reasons to criticize. They didn't have enough pitching. They didn't have enough pitching in the organization. They did not have enough depth on the bench. Those are all still real problems that they had early in the year. And as much credit as things are going right now, and everybody deserves the credit, don't forget, John Mozeliak did say at the end of July, well, we're just trying to get to the end of the season here.
Yeah.
He did say that.
He did say that, yeah.
He said that. So even John Mozeliak will, can't have seen or could not have seen that this was going to be a 16-game winning streak, or even that they were realistically going to get back into this thing at that point of the season.
Joe Booze Rum on the text line, 855-282-8255. Get your Cardinals text in. And also Mizzou. We'll talk a little Mizzou probably in about 20 minutes or so. But Joe Booze Rum says, guys, enjoying the ride, but all this winning could come to a sudden halt with one game in L.A. or San Fran, which is what I just said. So that's my question, though, because expectations change. Okay, if you went a month ago and you said the Cardinals have a one-game wild card, even if it's against Max Scherzer in L.A., you would have said, hell yeah, give me that opportunity. And so my question to you is, now that they've won 16 straight games, they look unbeatable right now. Have your expectations risen where if they now lose a wild card game, which by the way, sometimes the best team doesn't even win that game.
Yeah.
There's so much randomness and small sample size theater that can happen in 9 innings. You could have a crazy infield fly rule. You can have an awful call. You can have a couple bloopers that over the course of a regular season evens out, but it doesn't in a 1-game, 9-inning playoff. So do you guys think the 16-game winning streak, will you now be disappointed if the Cardinals lose the wild card game? And I know everybody's always disappointed, but my point is this feels special.
Yeah.
Will it be special if they just are one and done?
I think a little bit, because it just seems like everything is working out perfectly for him. It's just like, even like this weekend, we know the Cubs are terrible. Look, there's no doubt about it. I had no idea who half of those guys were out there. I mean, that was like a AAA team that they were up against. But still, at the end of the day, it was like, even when the Cardinals weren't doing well and the odds were stacked against them and they weren't leading, they still found a way to come back, or something just completely magical and absurd happened, and then that spark happens. And so, yeah, I feel like you would be a little bit disappointed because you kind of almost feel like the magic and like everything is on their side right now.
Throw this out there, because I like their point, because it's true. It's like, well, you know what? I'll just take the chances and see what happens. You lose. The game's in L.A. If it is in L.A., okay, it's probably a primetime start in L.A. time. That's a really bad sun field out in right field, so all it takes is one bad. I can't find it in the sun. Mm-hmm. There goes Bader circling the bases, extra run, Cards win by a run. Or it could go the other way. But think of it this way, too. We talked about, the Cardinals have put themselves in the position, but they've also put themselves in that position where it's a one and done. What do you think the Dodger fans are saying? They're going, we got Scherzer and Turner, and all we can do is do a one and done?
Yeah.
I mean, they've got the same situation that, Cardinal fans are, excited about. Dodger fans are going, we're pumped already. We could lose one game to the hottest team in baseball right now? That's not really fair.
It really isn't. I feel that way. Listen, I'm not going to say I feel sorry for the LA Dodgers.
No,
they're always in the World Series. They spend $300 million every year. They won the World Series last year, even though it was COVID. I don't put an asterisk on that. Some may. But I've always thought that the beauty of baseball is that it's every day. It's every day for 6 months, and the regular season should mean more than, for example, hockey in the NBA. It's always been about whether you have 30 teams, 32, half of them always get in. It's about getting to the playoffs. Especially hockey, we know an 8 can beat a 1. A 7 can beat a 2. I know it's different with the wild card. But hockey's more about getting in, getting hot. And I just feel like a team, when you look at the Dodgers in the standings, now it was much more lopsided a couple weeks ago, but the Dodgers are still 13 games better than the Cardinals. The Dodgers are a 100-win team with a week to go. I like things to be fair. And look, if the Cardinals beat the Dodgers, look, we want them to rock and roll and go deep in the playoffs. It's more fun for our job, for the city, for morale, for Busch Stadium, the bars, the restaurants. But I agree. I almost feel like if this Cardinals team, where at this point, the whole Cardinals devil magic against the Dodgers team that the Cardinals beat in 13-14, I feel like they're going to beat the Dodgers. And if I'm the Dodgers, I went out,
mad.
First of all, we don't mention Trevor Bauer for obvious reasons, but they signed him in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
They get Mookie Betts last year. They keep going for it. They get Max Scherzer at the deadline. They get Trey Turner. They absolutely go for it. They might win 104 games. And then that here's what's going to happen. Lars Nootbaar is going to hit a gort to left field.
Broken bat.
He's going to hit a
scores.
broken bat. Max Scherzer is going to throw the nastiest slider. Lars Nootbaar is going to break his bat. It's going to fall just out there in no man's land, and 2 runs are going to score, and the Cardinals are going to somehow win 3-2. Like, something weird like that is going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as a Dodgers fan, I don't really know what to say. Once again, do I feel bad for them? No, because they're just spending all the money. I mean, they literally, it's just like, what they're doing is like, if you could just manage a baseball team, it's like they picked every single piece that you would in like your fantasy baseball team. But I mean, I don't know. It would be really cool to see, but is it fair? No, not necessarily, but is it fun? Yeah.
And that's where I wonder, I wonder how baseball can change this, because I do like the second wild card. It's kept 5 fan bases. By the way, the Cardinals wouldn't even have a chance. We would have forgotten about this team without the second wild card. And it kept the Reds, the Phillies, the Mets, all these teams interested. Okay, even the Cubs for a while. But it kept a lot of fan bases interested, the Padres, for a long time. I kind of liked what happened last year with COVID, but I also thought that was unfair for a different way as well, because there should be some advantages if you win the division, if you have the best record in all of baseball, and then boom, you have a 2 out of 3 series. So I almost think it was more fair back in the day when there was one wild card and then you got a series to start it. Okay, I just feel like one game when the one team can be 20 games better. But look, you can only play the schedule and the postseason format the way it is.
TV loves the one win or take all game, right? I mean, because the ratings are through the roof. Baseball fan, whatever you want to call me, I think a wild card setup should be a 2 out of 3. And a team with the best record gets all 3 home games. That's just the way that is. That's how I would do it. And I know, like, again, TV wants their one winner take all game. I just always say this: baseball is based on throughout 162 is always played in a series. Most of them are 3-game series.
It just makes sense.
It should make sense that way. I think that would be the best way to go about it. I'd be real happy about it. And again, It would the Cardinals, if it's the Dodgers and the Cardinals, let's say, and they did play a best out of 3, well, you'd get Scherzer and you get Buehler. And you'd be like, well, that's good luck with that one. But when you just have, all we got to do is get lucky and beat Scherzer, well, we're good. We'll go take on Giants, who, I don't care, whoever. It looks a lot different, a lot more fair that way.
And weirdly, just things are happening. I hate the comparison to 2011, but it's so obvious to make. Now, one thing I think you got to give the Cardinals more credit this year is, if you go back to 2011, I know it was 10 years ago, but that was equal in the Cardinals' surge and the Braves' collapse was about equal. Okay, this year, you have to look, there's been a legit collapse from the Padres. We all know that. Mm-hmm. But also, it's not just the Padres playing poorly, which they have for a couple months. It's now also the Cardinals playing unbelievably well to the point where we're discussing the magic number and a clinch tomorrow. Right? Not on the last game of the season. I mean, the Cardinals have played so well that the narrative is no longer Cards played well, Padres collapsed. It's okay, yes, Padres collapsed. The Cardinals played the best baseball over a stretch of 2.5 weeks than they've ever played in their history. And they deserve more credit, is what I'm trying to say.
I think it's interesting, I think it was like a week or two ago, though, that Adam Wainwright was asked about that comparison with the 2011 team, and he said, no, like, it was still different. So I thought that was interesting to hear from Adam Wainwright, who obviously he was injured that year, but still, who was a part of that group and was able to see how things worked out in the clubhouse and stuff, and he sees that there's still a little bit of a difference there. He saw that the 2011 team had to go through more adversity than this group did this year.
Right, and the other part of this, though, is when I'm saying this feels special, and it's hard not to when you win 16 straight, and it seems like the last 10, every single one of them, there's been a crazy play, there's so much intensity, there's so much passion. I mean, Harrison Bader is running around with his hair on fire, literally. He's memed.
Hair too,
he knows exactly where
I call him the greatest showman on earth.
Yeah. Let me tell you something.
That's my nickname for him.
Harrison Bader knows where every camera is.
Yeah, he does.
And he finds it.
Uh-huh.
And look, I hate to go back and forth because earlier we were discussing Zach Sanford, about how Zach Sanford never looked the part. And I don't think he wasn't trying. It was his body language. It was the way he is. He's a calm person. He's not super passionate. Now, Harrison Bader is going to be
extreme opposite.
Right. But look, when he's striking out, now he's always making great catches, playing great defense, running around the bases. But when he's striking out, people might say, oh, he's too loud. Oh, this guy's on Instagram. It's about the hair. He's trying equally. Okay, but now he's hitting. It was the player of the week there.
Yeah.
Okay, and that look, every game there's a different Harrison Bader meme that's just crazy popular. And the one at Wrigley where he basically it's like he's the pastor at the church, like everybody, all rise. Yeah. And then the 3 kids behind him are all pounding the dugout. It was freaking awesome.
It was, because he is kind of like a big kid playing, and that's why I feel a lot of the younger kids just absolutely love him, is because it feels like you're watching like a big kid out there having fun. And it's honestly great. Look, is he a little flashy sometimes? Yes. I say sometimes, actually all the time. Yes. But he's a lot of fun to watch, and you can tell that obviously the other players love it as well, because he's that spark plug right now. He's the energy guy, and you actually love to see that. Is it a little flashy? Yeah. Do I think that when he gets there and, when he gets to a new stadium, does he walk around and look for the cameras? Yes. And maps it out? Probably. But still, it is a lot of fun to watch, and it just even adds more to that excitement, because you have that player who's really flashy, engages with the fans, pumps people up, kind of the villain in some points, and everybody really seems to love that.
And that's where, to me, flashy is not a pejorative. Isn't this what baseball's been talking about for years? That they want this, they want the passion, they want personality, and yeah, if that dude's on your team, you love him. If he's on the other team, like I have so many buddies from Chicago because I went to school at Bradley, they all hate Harrison Bader. If you're a Cubs fan, you hate him.
Yeah, you do.
Because he's killing you, and then he's making it worse by flipping the hair, doing all the gestures. It's the type of dude. Ronald Acuna Jr., okay, go back a couple years. And I'm not trying to compare them talent-wise, but Cardinals fans hated that dude. And Jack Flaherty plunked him, and you had the NLCS there, or the NLDS, where he didn't run out the ball. Well, the Braves love Ronald Acuna Jr., but if he hits a dinger off you and he watches it for 5 seconds, you're not going to love him. But that's what makes baseball great, and that's what makes sports great. There's so many guys like that. If Nyjer Morgan's on your team, you probably love him. All right? If he's not, you probably hate him. Steve Ott. If Steve Ott is on your team, we celebrated just him being the agitator throughout the playoffs. If you're the opposing team, you absolutely hate Steve Ott.
Jordan Binnington, another example of that.
Oh, yeah.
Jordan Binnington is great at being the villain, and obviously Blues fans love him, but if you talk to people from other fan bases and you say, who do you not like? Jordan Binnington. They're just quick with it. Same thing with Harrison Bader. I hear that from people as well. Is like, what is he like? He just seems like he would be like a jerk or, something like that. I'm like, actually, he's like somewhat chill, actually, in the post games. I don't know if you've noticed that. He's very calm. And, what's interesting is that he actually said he went through mental training this past off season. And so he went, I guess, some LA guru to help him get through some mental training. And it looks like it's kind of paying off, but he still has found a way to merge that mental training. So he's a little bit calmer and relaxed in the post games. But when he's out there on the field, he's able to kind of turn on that whole different side to him. And it's paying off. It looks like he's more aggressive at the plate. In general, he's like a whole different player out there.
Right, and also that is what baseball wants. He's fun. When he hits the ball, did it go out of the stadium at Wrigley Field? And he kind of did the reverse bat flip, and he's looking at the dugout, and he's putting his hands in the air. By the way, if you saw this in July, this was hilarious because batting stance guy. Once batting stance guy does your swing, you've really arrived. Now, look, remember, Harrison Bader was about the best player in all of baseball for the month of July. And then he fell off, but now he's back. The last week or basically this streak especially. But batting stance guy did the Harrison Bader, and Harrison Bader loved it. He commented, and it was just like the most extra. He did everything that Harrison Bader does, but he did it times 10, and it was just freaking hilarious. It was freaking hilarious. But again, when you talk about the dog days of July and August in baseball, isn't that what makes people watch over the course of 162 games? That type of passion. And that's what we're getting now, not just from Bader, but every single game. When you're seeing Gio close out a game, there's passion. TJ McFarland on the double play. Every single one of these guys, and every single one of these games, right? Yeah. There's just so much passion, and that's what baseball needs, because baseball can be a boring sport. It's not as fast paced as hockey, as basketball. But we've seen these moments now where if you're a little kid, if you're a baseball fan, or you're trying to choose your sport, you just started watching the Cardinals the last 2.5 weeks, you're hooked. You're hooked on baseball.
Yeah, exactly. And even if people don't exactly like all the, look, do I think that Harrison's a little showy sometimes? Yeah, and flashy. Yeah, of course. But it's a lot of fun to watch. And then when you look around, especially when there's a home game, you see a lot of young kids wearing Bader jerseys, because they feel like it's somebody they can relate to. It's finally someone young, exciting, fun to watch. And I think that is something that baseball really needs. They really need to showcase their personalities more and let that really stand out, because that's what's going to continue to grow that younger audience.
On the text line, 855-282-8255, Kyle says the Wildcard game is the best game of the year almost every year now, and I hope that they do not change it at all. I don't care if it's a fair or traditional or not. Also, Brooke, you are the best. How about that?
Aw, thanks.
Let's see what else here. Splashback says, Wildcard idea, one-day doubleheader of 2 7-inning games. If they split, they play a 9-inning game the next day for a 3-game series. And I think it's fun to talk about just the Wildcard format and the playoff format. I do think, though, this is also a weird year. It's a weird year in the sense where if you look at the American League wildcard standings, and I'll bring them up, you have a lot of teams, or you did, that were all kind of near each other. And what I'm saying is, between the first wild card, the second wild card, which right now it's the Yankees, the Red Sox, and then the Blue Jays are the team on the outside looking in. Even Seattle's 2 games out. Oakland's 3 games out. Okay, after that, I'm not going to bring up the Indians. But you have 5 teams. But Jim,
count.
Right, well, they're 11 and a half out.
No, I'm kidding. I like
Excuse me, the Guardians. I think they're going to be the Guardians if they can get that trademark away from the roller hockey team, the roller derby team up in
I don't know
Cleveland.
How that's going.
Right. We'll see about that. I would hope the Cleveland Indians would be able to pay off the roller derby team.
Wasn't there an XFL team named the Guardians?
Yes, I believe that's true.
Yes,
so what about them too? Are we just we're gonna forget about all these amazing?
Well, they weren't
Guardian
in
names?
Cleveland though. So
yeah, that's true.
This team, they have the domain. They have ClevelandGuardians.com. This roller derby team or roller hockey, whatever the hell it is.
I think it's roller. I don't know, roller something.
Roller something.
I've lost track.
But so my point, just big picture on the wild card is, if you look at the teams battling in the American League this year, they all seem like they're about equal. The Yankees, Red Sox, Blue Jays, Mariners, Oakland A's, they're all within a game or 3 games of each other. That seems pretty fair, and I think that's what baseball was looking for with the wild card and the second wild card. This is also probably just a really weird year where we all waited for the San Francisco Giants all year long to fall off. They have 102 wins. They're not going anywhere. Now, could the Dodgers snipe them in the final week here? You know, the Dodgers have 100 wins. They're both in the postseason. Obviously, the Giants haven't clinched the division yet. But this is just one of those weird years where you have 2 unbelievable teams and they're in the same division. And so a year like that, it's not technically going to be fair to a team like the Dodgers, but it is what it is. Win your division, even if you're facing a 102-win Giants team.
That's what makes it fun.
Exciting.
Look, we you're talking about what's fair, what's not fair. That somebody won 16 games in a row. That's what the rest of the league is saying. Come on, really? The Reds, the Phillies are going, well, we can't compete with that.
Well, that's where the Phillies. Well, I mean, the Phillies went on a run, and they haven't picked up any ground, obviously. I mean, you go on a run where you win something like 8 of 10, and you're dropping in the standings because the Cardinals have played just unbelievable baseball here. And another guy we got to mention is Paul Goldschmidt, because I do think that this year, especially the last 2-3 months, it's been a while in the Cardinals lineup where you felt like you had a true offensive superstar. Okay, you can go back to all of Albert's years till 2011. And even then, when you had Matt Holliday was a really, really good player. But Matt Holliday was not just that absolute dude you feared. Okay, and Nolan Arenado can be that. But right now, to me, you have Paul Goldschmidt, who is playing like a dude possessed, where when you're the opposing pitcher and you're game planning, now you're saying, how do we make sure Paul Goldschmidt doesn't beat us? And oh, by the way, it's not just him. You have 2 other 30-homer guys in Tyler O'Neill and Nolan Arenado. But you look at him this year, okay? OPS in April of 597. In May, 772. In June, 839. Improves every month. July, 959, which, by the way, is great. August, 1,004. And in September, the man's OPS is 1149. I mean, he's playing MVP caliber baseball the last 3-4 months, and he's going to get MVP votes. Tyler O'Neill should as well.
Well, and also I would like to call him the silent killer, because even though you fear him, he's so not really that intimidating as a person because he's just so quiet and the most even-keeled player I think I've ever witnessed in my entire life. And I mean, even when he's smashing like a 2-run bomb, it's just like, it's like another day for him. He's just clocking into the 9-to-5 job, doing what he's doing, and clocking out for the day. I mean, he's just so calm about it. But also too, I was surprised about this. Has he not been named the National League Player of the Week yet?
It's almost like he's been so good month to month. I mean,
he hasn't. Yeah.
And he should be for this month, right? Like, without a doubt. But I was surprised that he hasn't even gotten National League Player of the Week yet.
So, in 25 games in September, Paul Goldschmidt, 9 homers, 19 RBI, 341 average, 435 on base, and a 714 slug. And I think because of the topic today, we discussed Zach Sanford a lot. Because we're talking about, I think this is a good.
Him?
To pick on Zach Sanford a little bit more. No, you're right.
A month from now, here's why this reminds me of Zach Sanford when the Cardinals win the World Series. No, but my point is, if a guy is not intense, if he's not having a good season, like if you looked at April and Paul Goldschmidt is batting .214, he's not Mr. Rah-Rah. So you could say, now I don't think anybody said this because it's not true, But you could look at it and say, oh, does he not care? He's hitting 214. He's not emotional, right? The only difference is the execution. He was trying just as hard, I promise you. He's now figuring it out offensively. And a guy like that who is a superstar, he has a track record. You knew he was going to figure it out. Now, I didn't know it was going to be to this level where he's been absolutely unbelievable. But I think that also plays into just the Cardinals overall. Early on, were they playing without energy? Were they not trying? Was the effort not there? No. They were blowing games in the bullpen. They were getting 5-inning starts. Okay, now everything's coming together. It's more fun. It's more exciting. They've found something here. Mm-hmm. But just because back in the day they were striking out doesn't mean they weren't trying. Doesn't mean they were giving the same effort. But right now, just everything's clicked.
Well, I think we always have been aware that the talent is right here, but I'm not exactly sure. I can't wait to find out. There has to be something at some point where something just really clicked for them. I don't know if it could have been Paul Goldschmidt finally clicking, getting hot, and then everybody just feeding off of that. Is it him and Nolan Arenado? We always knew that they've been good friends, but them finally connecting and building even more on that chemistry, did that add to this, all of a sudden happening? And then Tyler O'Neill out of nowhere, also with 30-plus home runs. I mean, it's just, there's got to be something that happened here. And I do think Paul Goldschmidt was a big part of that, him getting hot and then people just feeding off that.
Bob the Woodworker says, right now, Cards have the perfect mix. Bader, Sosa, Loud, Goldie, Arenado, Quiet, and Yachty and Waino overseeing it all. I know we have to break Jim Heuer, but here's the other thing we're missing, because we like to do dumb media narratives. Okay, can we focus on the greatness on the field? Sure. But every great Cardinals team had a dumb media thing that we could talk about. Happy Flight, Rally Squirrel, Salsa. That's what's missing.
Pickles?
There's got to be, pickles.
The pickles are this year. That's when things change.
Torty Craig. I'm telling you, what 2021, what they're lacking is the dumb thing that we're all talking about. We haven't found it yet.
I found it. I'll tell you right now.
Brooke
remember who was it that they re-signed? Was that why am I blanking on that right now? But there was a photo on social media of Adam Wainwright bringing homemade pickles because they were celebrating the re-signing of somebody. And I'm telling you, things since then have changed. It
Pickle
could be
party.
The Rally Pickles.
Wasn't Yachty's re-signing, was it?
It was.
Okay.
It was Yachty's re-signing.
Okay.
Well, the Waino garden has led to a lot of this. The salsa came from Waino's garden that he helped with Carpenter, now the pickles. So
don't worry, guys. I'll ask all of them about it.
I love it.